Xbox has a huge perception problem, and I think that perception problem also goes into Game Pass, unfortunately. When we sit back and we look at what Game Pass used to be, people would go, okay, well, it's the best deal in gaming. It's like this great thing, obviously. For me, Game Pass has always been kind of this little added thing. I would play some of the games here or there, but honestly, subscription service for gaming is a little bit different than like one for movies and TV and things like that. And I think the main reason is that you can consume, like, say, a movie in a couple hours. Like games, most games anyway, will take a significant amount of time. If you're playing an RPG, 50, 100 hours into one game, it doesn't leave you much time to kind of play the rest of the slate. And it's like, a big problem, I think. And the other thing is, like for me, when a game is free to play, I won't invest as much time in it. I won't feel like I need to play that game. I'll always put games that I spent money on ahead of everything else, ahead of what's in the subscription service, ahead of, free to play games, all that stuff. And I think the fact that a lot of people look at Game Pass as like a budget type situation, like, okay, well, it's and the titles, we'll check it out or whatever, means that that it's going to be a really, really bad situation when some games get totally ignored, right? And we're starting to see that now. And it's at a time where, we see a situation where, things can happen, where games can kind of look at a situation, and we kind of sit there and we go, okay, well, what exactly is Microsoft doing here? It's like we kind of look at that and we go, they're releasing these games. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of cool. But it's like they're releasing games very close together. They're not advertising any games. So it really can kind of leave people out of the fray or whatever. So you just raise Game Pass prices to a huge amount, and not only did you raise Game Pass prices to a huge amount, but you also have a situation where games are just kind of getting forgotten about. So this game came out called Keeper. There was like less than 100 players on it on Steam. I don't see anybody playing it on my feed. Double Fine's puzzle game where you wordlessly play as a lighthouse. It's weird, a little bit short, but Keeper is also a unique experience that fans and critics seem to, I guess, someone enjoy. It sits at a 78 Metacritic, so not terrible. I haven't played it yet. I downloaded it. I figure I might get around to it. That's the problem, right? Like, I've got games that I bought, like I paid for Madden. I like to play that. I paid for Battlefield. I like to play that. It's like the games I paid for Mafia. I'm at towards the end of that. So it's like I've paid for these games, and those take precedent over something like this. Despite the warm reception of the game, the adventure game is currently attracting only around 100 concurrent players on Steam. The number has sparked discussion on social media about the game's success and the role marketing has played in ensuring the outcome. For every fan speaking highly of Keeper, there's seemingly a surprised fan who didn't realize Double Fine was working on a new game at all, much less that it came out last week. Does it mean that the game has failed? Double Fine is owned by Microsoft, which immediately complicates the circumstances surrounding the game. Notably, Keeper was released on PC and Xbox Game Pass at the same time, and player counts from Microsoft's subscription service are not public. Microsoft did not immediately respond to a request for comment, but releases like Keeper are typical for the company. Game Pass might flaunt big-ticket releases as a reason to pay for the service, but on a month-to-month basis, it's the smaller games that keep things vibrant. It's common to hear fans say they gave something a try simply because it was on Game Pass, or say that they'll wait to try it when it hits Game Pass. And while Microsoft keeps insisting that it is already thinking about its next generation of Xbox devices, the tech company has also repeatedly signaled that it's looking well beyond confines of its own hardware. This is why you can use Game Pass on a wide variety of products, and why games keep getting released on PlayStation and Nintendo consoles. Hardware exclusivity seems to be a thing of the past. By proxy, Game Pass might be the Xbox's flagship product, but again, why would you raise prices so exorbitantly like that? For me anyway, to go, oh well, can they afford a bomb that like nobody's playing? I'm not sure that that's the case. I mean, just look at Hi-Fi Rush. They're like, it's a huge success, and this seems to have been doing like much worse, and than that. So I mean, where are we at here? Like, are we at a situation where they can close Double Fine? You know what I mean? Like, obviously, even if you are, you know, owned by Xbox or whatever, you know, it's kind of crazy to think that you're just allowed to put out any kind of game and not, you know, like every game has to have some kind of thing that it brings in, right? They have to have some sort of expectation, and I think the fact is that they don't. So, I mean, Double Fine is owned by Microsoft, which immediately complicates the circumstances. Like I said, Microsoft keeps insisting that it's, you know, doing next generation, blah blah blah. But on Steam, player counts are king. Good player counts ensure visibility in places like popular release tabs, if not getting big media attention as well. On Game Pass, things aren't as straightforward. If the Netflix model is the most applicable comparison, then huge hits are not the entire calculus. Netflix needs shows like Squid Game to catch fire, but in order for users to stick around, they need to watch in between seasons of high-profile shows. To do that, Netflix offers a wide variety of programming capable of appealing to everyone. Where Call of Duty reportedly cost $700 million and multiple studios to develop, Keeper's budget and scope are likely significantly less than that. Historically, Double Fine has also been a studio with has never had massive mainstream appeal. Its games are beloved by the people that play them, but it seems unlikely that Microsoft bought the studio expecting an enormous return on investment. Like when Netflix taps big name actors, they keep comparing it to Netflix here. I'm not sure if that's really applicable because, like I said, there's plenty of precedent to show that Microsoft will 100% can a studio if their game doesn't do well, right? I mean, look at Redfall. That game actually, you know, hit the top, hit some of the top 15 on Xbox, but you know, it was a bad game, and obviously they closed down the studio. So, again. You can't go, oh, well, Game Pass makes it weird because, you know, if you look at Starfield, that game's on Game Pass, but it still had, you know, hundreds of thousands of people on Steam, right? So I think it's a decent metric to kind of look at, maybe not the full picture, but I just don't think that there is a huge market on Xbox for that type of game anyway. So, you know, Microsoft is in a strange spot right now, raising Game Pass's prices, Xbox hardware prices, which could imply it's offering premium exclusive products, except those experiences are also doing well on the competitor's platform. All the while, Microsoft's continued reminders of its next generation make it sound like it's already given up on its current system, which is another problem from Microsoft because they gave up in the Xbox One generation as well. Like, I love the Xbox One X, right? It might go down as one of the most underrated consoles of all time, but the big problem is, unfortunately, you know, the Xbox One X didn't get any exclusive content, so you know, a lot of people just kind of ignored it and didn't really bother with it. So, you know, it's unfortunate, you know, how this is kind of happening, but again, it doesn't really help matters, you know what I mean? Like, in fact, it helps people kind of avoid things. And like, look at the recent launches. Like Doom didn't get played by much in terms of Steam or anywhere else. That was kind of a flop. South of Midnight was a flop. Avowed was a flop. You know what I'm saying? I mean, these were games that were critically okay, but you didn't see big player counts on them, and they disappeared very quickly. You know, even like Ninja Gaiden 4, apparently that game is good. Not my type of game, but you know, apparently that game is getting a lot of hype. You know, you had Keeper come out, then of course you have Outer Worlds 2 releasing soon. But, you know, that's maybe too many releases, and like I said, releases coming out close together. There's, you know, big releases like Battlefield, so a lot of people's time might be, you know, kind of spent with this kind of stuff. But this, to me, isn't exactly good news. I mean, it's kind of a thing where you set a warning out there, hey, you know, like, what's going to happen in the future, you know what I mean? Like, again, this is a big problem for Microsoft. You know, you just raise prices, you release a game that scores a 78, so not exactly like trying to attract a lot of people. Microsoft still has that issue where they don't have that 90 plus rated megaton hit that's going to draw people to the platform, unfortunately, and I think that's really hurt Microsoft in the long run. You know, I don't know, maybe you guys feel differently than I do, but that's just kind of the way I feel about it. Hopefully things change before too long. I would love to see Microsoft actually stay competitive with what they're trying to do. Will that ever happen? Listen, I have no clue, but I hope it does. I hope that they get out there and do that. I would love to see that happen. You know, sooner rather than later. But you know, at the end of the day, we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully things can kind of come about that change their fortunes or whatever. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. I'll link this